calm, clear skies and lighter winds for a time. But don't be fooled. During the early hours of Friday, rain sweeps in from the west, turning to snow over northern England, Scotland, Northern Ireland as well. And then the winds really pick up for the start of Friday. Risk widely across central and southern UK, 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts, 80 in one or two spots. And for the coasts of Wales, the Bristol Channel and southwest England, the risk of dangerous wind speeds of 90 and perhaps even 100 miles an hour. Now that would lead to a significant disruption, damaging wind speeds and particularly dangerous conditions around coasts. But the snow is also possibly disruptive across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland, with blizzards in places and drifting of any lying snow.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate
from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
Basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Dominic Frisby and this is the show in which comedians read the papers so you don't have to. And today we'll be discussing which big corporation had a potentially dodgy relationship with ISIS. We'll be discussing Scottish eco-terrorists and Elon Musk's relationship with monkey brains. How about that for a teaser? But first, it's the headlines with Polly Middlehurst.
Dom, thank you. The top story tonight, thousands are without power as Storm Dudley has brought up to 90-mile-an-hour winds to the UK. Social media footage shows fallen trees obstructing roads in Hertfordshire, while winds blew a trampoline onto a railway track, stopping a train near Cardiff. The Met Office is saying the storm could now pose a danger to life, and it's issued amber weather warnings in Scotland and northern parts of England. ScotRail has stopped almost all of its services. Ferry crossings are also disrupted, and it comes ahead of Storm Eunice, set to hit the UK on Friday, with even stronger winds and predictions of heavy snow. The Prime Minister is agreeing a new £25 million security package with Australia. In a video call with the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, the two leaders agreed to strengthen resilience in cyberspace, state threats and maritime security. It comes less than 6 months after the AUKUS agreement to help develop nuclear-powered submarines. Officials say it's part of government efforts to position the UK globally as the European partner of choice in the Indo-Pacific. Britain's head of military intelligence, Lieutenant General Sir Jim Hockenhull, says Russia is continuing to move forces towards the border with Ukraine. It comes as Boris Johnson held a call with United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres to discuss the crisis. They both agreed an urgent diplomatic resolution had to be found. The UK is doubling the number of troops in Estonia now and sending more tanks and armoured fighting vehicles as part of the NATO deployment to Eastern Europe. Children between the ages of 5 and 11 years old living in England will be offered a COVID-19 vaccination from April. The Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, made the decision following guidance from the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation. The jabs will also be available for that age group in Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland. And scientists have converted the blood type of donated lungs to the universal type O. The breakthrough means they may be less likely to be rejected by a transplant patient in the future. It raises hope that doctors might one day create neutral organs of all types. Transplant surgeon Richard Lang says 10 to 20% of patients currently die waiting for a transplant.
We know that we can only give certain organ types to certain individuals. And if we can alter at a cellular level the blood group, then it really would be a game changer.
Richard Lang. On TV, online and on your radio via DAB+, you're with GB News. From the headlines to headliners.
Thank you, Polly. Impeccable news reading as ever. And welcome everyone to Headliners. I'm Dominic Frisby. Who are tonight's guests? Well, now we find out. We have a man whose voice is currently being prescribed as an aphrodisiac on the NHS. Steve N. Allen. How about that for a compliment, Stephen?
Yeah, there's an intro. I am available, yeah.
Oh, I'm in the mood. And we have a woman who is currently being sued by Rapunzel for copyright infringement. Diane Spencer. Hello, Diane.
That hairy woman's going off the top of that tower. She's not going to make it to the court.
I like the curly thing action you've got going on. Looks very nice.
Thank you. It's just how I wake up in the morning. Absolutely no effort is required.
You've obviously learnt from me. Now, we open as always with the headlines, so let's do that now. Let's look at tomorrow's front pages, and we start with the Mail and Charles facing police quiz over cash for honours. Not a good week for the royal family. We move on to the Telegraph, which has Truss. Putin could drag out crisis for months, and teachers told not to indoctrinate pupils with BLM. I thought that was going to be something else. Right, The Guardian leads with COVID jab programme extended to cover all children aged 5 to 11, and Prince of Wales may face police interview, and finally, oil firms greenwash on climate study finds. The FT is next, and it has France seeks security shake-up to head off Russian threat in Europe, and Ericsson embarrassed after admitting to possibly paying ISIS for access in Iraq. Bit of a tongue twister, that one. As is often the case with the FT, The Times is next. It has cash for honours inquiry deepens crisis for royals, and teachers told to avoid the biased views of BLM and Stonewall, and finally, Met chief quit after Khan ultimatum. Excuse me, I have choked. The Sun has, as Charles faces cop quiz over aid and Andrew sex case crisis spirals. Thank God for the Queen. The Metro is trying its hardest to beat the Star today with another royal scandal, plutonium jubilee. And finally, we have the Daily Star. As always, the favourite, last is best. It has Wokest pub bans unethical drinks. Make mine a Bacardi and Coke, crossed out. Heineken, crossed out. Thatcher's, crossed out. Tisky, or is it Tysky, crossed out. Ethically. Headlines. And so to our first story. Hey, big state, leave them kids alone. COVID jabs for 5 to 11-year-olds. Diane, this is yours. And I sense while I was reading those headlines, behind the scenes, I could see a panic going on as papers were shuffled around and notes were nervously scribbled to each other. Is the panic over?
Oh, God, Dominic, it doesn't matter or nothing. We're just going to go and have a fag round the back of the swimming pool later, so shut up, it's fine.
OK. I'm just checking that everyone's happy and we can carry on.
We'll just carry on.
We'll deal with it.
We'll wing it.
Fine.
Our wonderful Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, has described this rollout as non-urgent. So, of course, nobody will pay attention to it. So I don't know about you. As soon as somebody says non-urgent, everybody goes, oh, fine, I'll leave it for a couple of weeks.
Do they? I think often when people say non-urgent, that means that's code for urgent and everyone panics. But...
How do you live your life, Dominic?
Contrarian, Diane, contrarian. So it's non-urgent, but...
But if it is so pleasing to the general public, if you so wish to have your kid, and I'm talking about your child, not your little baby goat, if you so wish to have your kid vaccinated, you may. And it's from 5 to 11, not the time, that's the kids, 5 to 11-year-olds, and you can take them and go have a jab. And it's up to the parents, which is wondrous. I'm quite pleased about this because it means that I thought it was a little bit unfair when the kids were being described as vectors. I think that's a little heartless to describe lovely little children as vectors of a disease.
I have 4 vectors.
You have 4 vectors? It's not... I mean, I've got quite a few little vectors in my family. I'm very fond of them. But what I'm looking forward to is any kind of, what do they call the theatre and education groups, you know, where they kind of travel around the schools and they do really naff plays about the dangers of drugs. I'm kind of hoping somebody does like the miracle of vaccines in schools. I kind of think that'd be quite fun.
Right, now, a lot of people have been getting their quite het up about this vaccines for 5 to 11-year-olds, but it does seem that the approach is a voluntarist approach, which is something that I would approve of generally. How obligatory is it, or is it totally voluntary?
Well, I have heard rumours that if the 5 to 11-year-olds are not vaccinated, they won't be allowed in nightclubs. Also true for the ones who are vaccinated, but you know a newspaper...
What about heavy metal concerts?
They'll definitely not be allowed in there. But yeah, newspapers will find that and pretend that it's, they're being forced into it. They're not being forced into it. It is indeed the argument from what I would call the other side is often it should be about personal choice. This is about choice, and it's a risk-benefit analysis. The benefit, very tiny. Barely, what's the point? The risk, very tiny. What's the point? So it just comes down to choice. This is why
are you saying the benefit of kids being vaccinated is low?
For the child.
Yeah,
I think specifically, and I believe one should only be vaccinated because of the benefit to yourself. The argument about being vaccinated for the greater populace is fine, but no one should be pressured by that argument. But
given that vaccines don't stop you spreading it or have minimal impact.
But they reduce it. Even if they reduce it a bit, there is benefit when we think of how many million people...
But in the grand scheme of things, the benefits of a 5 to 11-year-old being vaccinated is minimal.
Certainly for the child, but also the risks are so small as well. And, so it really comes down to the choice. Go for it. And I think it's nice. I hope people do, because I hope there are plays about vaccines. Vaccines are good. I spoke to a doctor a couple of years ago.
I'm not having pro-vaccine
I'll tell you
plays.
What this doctor said, though.
Screwing up children's minds.
You'd love it. You could get to play one of the halves of the cow.
Well, if I get a part in the production, then that changes everything.
You could be Jenna, or as I say, one of the halves of the cow. Like, how does this pox affect this pox? That'd be a great play.
Well, perhaps we could play the cow together, Stephen, and we can argue as to who does the moos. Stephen Allen, as ever, the sensible voice of reason in a world of insanity. Right, more bad news for the royal family in today's Guardian. This is you again, Diane. Is it you again, Diane? You're looking at me as though
it is.
It is. Good stuff. Opening with double Diane.
Yeah. So, right, now, the way that I understand it, you are not going to believe this, but this gentleman, Dr. Mahfouz Murai Mubarak bin Mahfouz.
Well done. Said without looking at your notes. Well done.
I left my notes in the canteen. He has been given a CBE. Now, a CBE is one of those magical things that you get given if you contribute to the country. It was created by King George V, and you get it for sort of working at home, and it was created after the First World War.
Citizen of the British Empire, is it?
Yes, citizen of the British Empire. You get a couple of freebies with it. You get there's a little special section in St Paul's Cathedral that you get to use. I think you get money off Greg's Donuts. I'm not totally sure. Double check me on that one. But apparently...
Free NHS vaccines.
Free NHS vaccines. And I think you can actually park horizontally. So it's worth having. But the issue is that he has donated a lot to the Prince's Trust. And there's this dude called Michael Fawcett, who was one of the Prince Charles's aides, and he sort of said, look, if you happen to donate this much money, you could get a nice little CBE. And Prince Charles is more used to talking to plants than people. And when he realised he had to talk to a person about this, I think he got a bit confused. And he was like, yeah, great plan. Have you seen my courgettes? They're really angry right now. That's my Prince Charles impression.
Very good, very good.
Oh, no, it should be more like this, shouldn't it?
It should be more, yeah, that's better. Yeah. That's even better. But that's normal Charles rather than scatty Charles panicking because he's not talking.
Oh no, my courgettes. Is that better?
Very good.
So the issue
is... I say, you are summarising this story beautifully, with great accuracy.
Like Jack and Norris.
And it's, yes. But it is a 50-minute show.
I'm so sorry. So the point is, I'm so sorry. So the point is, he should not get this because it's in violation of the Britain 1925 Honours Act. But the idea of somebody paying, lots of money and you get an award, does a bear defecate in the woods? Yes, they do, especially in woods that have been named after Dr. Bin Mahfouz. So, yeah, so basically there's an issue here. And the police, oh my God, this is the crux of the story. The police have decided the Met are going to investigate something. I know, right? Because, recently they just kind of go, shall we investigate it? I don't know. Was there a party? Who knows? But this time they're going, I think we should investigate this, guys. And they launched, like cheerleaders.
Well, yeah, you're right. I thought they did investigate...
Over to you, Stephen.
I thought they would investigate past crimes. That was the rule from Dominic Raab. Which means you're only allowed future crimes, and that's really cut down on the paperwork. Over to me. I think that's so expertly done. What I love about this story is that no matter how you pull out the details to try and make it look bad, there is nothing that's going to make Prince Charles the worst member of the family in the news today. It's a good time for this to come out.
Putin could drag the Ukraine crisis for many months, says Liz Truss in the Telegraph today. And so could the press drag this story out for many months. They know a thing or two about dragging stuff out. Stephen, over to you, or Steve N.
You're right. I mean, how do you distinguish between someone dragging out the threat of war and not war? Because all this has effectively meant that no one's invaded yet. I know this is a similar story.
Very Cold War. I mean, isn't that what happened in the Cold War?
Yeah, there was no war. Yeah. But I mean, a while ago, Biden said something about, Putin's going to have to do something, and now Liz Truss is saying, well, he's dawdling a bit. Stop it! Stop trying to force him into invade. There are some interesting details in the Telegraph version of this story about there's a bit of a cyber attack has already happened. We've got people over in Ukraine sorting out their routers, probably just adding a firewall to it or something. It might be a bit more technical than that, but I do like that detail that it's another type of Cold War activity, isn't it? There's not an invasion. There might be some cyber activities, but
it's all the new fronts.
Yeah.
Fronts that didn't previously existed. I guess war evolves,
with the technology that's available to it. Yeah, and there's a big part of me that thinks that's better. I would much rather not have access to a banking system for a few hours than be shot at. So I don't think that's too controversial to say. But this all comes down to the fact that whilst Russia is saying, look, we're done with the military exercises and moving out, there's no evidence that there's been any moving out. We did see some pictures in the newspapers of tanks on a train. But as I pointed out on the day, that could be reversed footage of when they were making the tanks arrive.
Putin, I don't quite understand what his motivation is. I don't think anyone understands what his motivation is, but he does seem to have everyone in the West scrambling and running around. And so maybe he's just a psychopath that likes to see if he can have people scrambling and running around.
I think that what was really telling was when Moscow released that statement saying the West has been humiliated. over their declarations of war. And then he's like having this tiny table meeting with Bolsonaro. So he's definitely playing games, both physically in the geography of where he stationed his troops and also on the sort of global media frame. He's got two things going on, which makes me think, because it's Putin, he's got minimum 4 things going on. So we got to work out what the other 2 things are. Yeah.
Right. Now, I think he's the sort of not so grand old Duke of York. This is from the Times, Steve.
Yeah.
More bad news for Prince Andrew, I suppose. Or is it really?
Is it? Well, this is more about the use of that title, the Duke of York, because the MP for York Central has said that he should relinquish that title because he's embarrassing York.
Bringing the good name of York into disrepute.
And if anyone watching from York, I think I have to say, we're not blaming you for this. No one heard this story and went, oh,
York, you are innocent.
Exactly. And I also think if you follow through and he doesn't use the title anymore, it's not actually going to change anything. You will still, any joke that you could make about the Duke of York would still work. Do you know? So even if he doesn't use the title anymore, no one's going to be. It's not going to change this.
Is this MP? What's his name? Maskell? Is he just sort of?
I think it's Rachel. Here we are. Labour's Rachel Maskell.
Rachel Maskell. I mean, is it a bit of attention seeking going on? Perhaps
she's had form on this before, and actually has tried to get a vote about how these titles that are linked to areas are bestowed. I think the key is to stop caring about. No one's going to say, "Well, I'm not going to York then," if that's what he's been up to. In the same way that some people are really angry about Prince Harry, but they don't write hate mail to Sussex, and no one's ever said, "I'm not going to Sard again." Not after that, that dirty Marquis got up to. So I think the key would be to not worry about it. However, she's asking for Parliament to pass legislation that would enable people to vote for the withdrawal of titles. Well, then you do make it people's fault. If an area hasn't voted to get rid of someone who's got their name, why haven't you done that yet? Look what that person's up to. If I were them, I wouldn't worry about it. From the Prince Andrew side, he might lose that title, but if he wants another honour, he could just ask his brother.
OK. Where do you stand on this?
I sort of half agree with Steve here, because I did read that the MP, Maskell, did say something along the lines of, we're going to make York a place where we're going to fight against sexual trafficking. And if I was somebody living in York, I'd be like, I just want to sell donuts out of my bakery, mate. Like stopping sex trafficking trade is a good thing, but it wasn't on my to-do list today. I've got to pick the kids up at 3. So, yeah, I think I think a couple of people have jumped on this bandwagon and decided to maybe get a little bit of press. Yeah.
Clickbait. Did Ericsson inadvertently fund ISIS? This is from the Financial Times, and it's you again, Steve.
It is. I'm going to do one of those classic Steve ones of this exciting story. I might slightly take it out the back and shoot it.
Do that.
Yeah. So, the issue is, the headline, Ericsson may have paid bribes.
It's the FT, so we want to debunk the FT.
They may have paid bribes to ISIS. Honestly, you see that headline and you
think... Ever since they refused to review my book, I've got it in the FT.
You're still upset about this, aren't you? What I love about this, every night on the show.
No, this is an ongoing... Yeah. This is the technological... I'm using the technology available to me to wage war against the FT.
How's it going so far?
Spill the tea. Tell us more.
So, we'll get through the story.
No.
Ericsson may have paid bribes. I read the headline, I thought it's something to do with football. It's not. So the phone company, Ericsson, they've looked into whether they were paying money to try and get access through Iraq. And at the time, paying money to ISIS. But they've done this investigation because they found some issues with expenses. But what it says is they could not determine the ultimate recipients of the payments, and the investigation could not identify that any Ericsson employee was directly involved. So the story is they don't know if anyone was involved and they don't know where the money went to, which is a lot less sexy than they paid ISIS. I suppose the story is they can't prove that they didn't pay ISIS, but then again, so can I, probably.
It's kind of a very Scandinavian thing to be holding this inquiry in the first place.
Yes. Imagine that. I love that this came off some dodgy expense. Imagine if this is not paying ISIS, what were you doing that your expense receipt got triggered as maybe being linked to terrorism?
Well, we will find out later in the show with these weird messages that people have been attaching to their bank payments. We'll come to that. What's your view on Ericsson and ISIS, Diane? Do you have one?
I think that they were probably going through Iraq, and you know when you're on holiday and you get stopped for speeding by the police?
Yes.
Just me? So the police always, they give you the old blah, blah, blah. But then when you sort of say, oh, but officer, surely you would like to go for a coffee. Would this amount of euros help? Then you can go about your holiday and they can go get a cup of coffee. I find it works very well in Italy. So I kind of understand where the Ericsson people were coming from. I don't think they were necessarily trying to like fund terrorism, more just trying to do their job. And they were like, well, we kind of need to go that way, and they're the people who own the toll booth.
They're speeding in ISIS-controlled Iraq.
Wouldn't you love to? Just give it a go.
Right, we have... Sorry, Steve, I beg your pardon. We've reached the end of part one. We're going to take a break now. Join us for part two, as we'll find out about eco-terrorists in Scotland. See you in a minute.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate
from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
It's basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome to part two of Headliners. I'm Dominic Frisby. With me looking through the papers is a woman who was once chased by a hedgehog, Diane Spencer, and a man who knows more about chemistry than the bloke in Breaking Bad, Steve N. Allen. And if you were doubting God's existence, your worst fears may have been confirmed, as Nick Clegg has been promoted to a top Facebook role. Cleggmania has infected Silicon Valley. This is from The Guardian, Diane.
Yes, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg has willingly promoted Nick Clegg from Vice President of Global Affairs to President of Global Affairs, which means he will now be making decisions for Mark Zuckerberg, which is an interesting thing to do. And we were having a wee old chat in the office. It's quite interesting that Nick Clegg, who was previously a Liberal Democrat, and he stood for kind of democracy and freedom and looking after people, is now working for Facebook. Let's call them what they are, the people who love to sell data. And, you know, oh, OK, so this image might cause you to self-harm, but who cares? That's what we're selling here, chaps. And yeah, so if he's now in charge of this sort of, I don't want to say evil corporate takeover, but it is in that area.
Evil techno corporate.
Oh, thank you. There we go. I knew I was missing some kind of word.
So yes, so the revolving door used to be between politics and big bank and regulator, but it's now between the technocracy.
Isn't it weird that he probably has more control over us than he did even as Vice Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, that's the phrase. It's bizarre, and yet I'm one of those people who will moan about Facebook and all this. It's our fault. Let's stop blaming Facebook for being Facebook. Stop using it if you think it's a problem. I barely use it and miss out on tons of gigs because of that.
I will say, well, the gigs, it is very good. The last-minute gigs feed on Facebook is very useful. The reach of the Facebook network is extraordinary. If you include Instagram and WhatsApp, it's something like 3 billion people, or 2 to 3 billion people, which is sort of 2 Indias. And I think the users of WhatsApp in India alone would be the 4th largest country in the world by population. The reach of that network is extraordinary. And yeah, we're all encouraging it, as the annoying voice of reason has just said.
Hang on, why did you add annoying to that?
Because you're always so reasonable and sensible. The usually jovial Daily Star is reporting on quite a serious human rights issue, Steve.
Yeah, I'm going to be serious and sensible about this. So the death row murderer, John Grant, they've given details of what it was like, the act of this lethal injection. Convulsed and vomited for 15 minutes, and some of the details. So I understand straight away, you're talking about someone receiving the death penalty. Some people will have the tendency to say, good. But listen to some of the details. He had what they called heavy lung after the injection, which includes edema, which would have felt like he was drowning, and the terror that brings for 15 minutes. Even if you are in favour of someone being put to death, no one ever agreed to 15 minutes worth of what must be hideous torture. So it was in 1998 that he killed a member of prison staff, was given the death sentence. But this 6-year-old, his lawyer said that he, of all the people she's worked with, more than any other client that I've worked with, he tried hard to atone and understand his actions. So it raises this question of now it's too late to do any learning. So maybe you're still, I'm not personally in favour of the death penalty, but as I say, even if you are, this is a sobering story with no humour in, the closest I could get to. If you want to have something light about this story, they gave the detail of his last meal, because he vomited during the execution, but it included 2 bacon cheeseburgers with onions, tomato pickles, lettuce, mustard, half a gallon of ice cream, large bag of barbecue-flavoured crisps, large pack of Nutter Butter, whatever that is, sandwich cookies, and a 2-litre bottle of Mr. Pibb. He was going to throw up, even if he just stood up quickly.
What are your thoughts on this, Diane? Have you ever eaten?
Oh, no, I'm good, thanks. I'll just have half a pizza if you... What are we doing? Are we ordering food?
Final meal, a bit different. I'd go for like a slow roast.
Would you?
Well, it'll take longer than that.
Oh, I see what you mean. No, I'd have a burrito, I think. They're quite nice. What would you have, Dominic?
Magret du canard, from duck breast. From Swedish, I love it. From Swedish terrorists to eco-terrorists. Tell us more, Guardian. This is from The Guardian, Diane.
Well, there is an eco-terrorist who planted a bomb in a park. But thankfully, it didn't go off, and I think somebody grassed him up.
Sorry. Any more?
No, I sort of ran out. Basically, so this man, Nicholas Kavunakis, who is originally from the Greek island of Crete, he is an eco-terrorist. And what he did was he decided to make a bomb and plant it in a park in Edinburgh. Now, if you're an eco-terrorist, you are against man things, and by like human things. You're against, I assume, technology and progression and science and buildings. So he put his bomb in a park where he's trying to blow up the grass. This does not make sense to me. And also, his defense lawyer said, oh, but he's a very anxious person. He's very anxious. Yes, not so anxious that he couldn't attempt to make a bomb in his own house. I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling a little bit anxious, the last thing I want to do is start tinkering around with explosives in my kitchen.
Well, you say that. sitting to your right is a chemist who I wonder if perhaps does make bombs in his spare time. You ever made a bomb?
We made one in one of the lessons once, actually. Just a real, nothing to, just like basically a hand grenade with, I think it's potassium, sodium, and it's a while ago now. 1,1-tribromo something or other is the fluid in the middle. Can't remember it now. I could look it up. Don't matter. Actually, let me stop reading out bomb-making advice on TV.
You get everything on headliners.
Forgot about that. Yeah, no, I totally. I mean, what some of the defence saying he had low self-esteem. This is not going to cheer you up, is it? The weird thing is, though, in the bomb, he did write an expletive message to people. Now, surely then he must be presuming the bomb's not going to go off. Otherwise, who's going to read the message? Someone with like really good eyesight as it comes flying towards them. So there's a lot going off there. But you're right, an eco-terrorist don't make more CO2.
And he didn't.
It's not all there.
Well, he didn't even connect the bomb up. So he had the trigger and he had the bomb, and you're supposed to connect them so it detonates, and he never did that. And his lawyer was saying he just wanted to cause disruption. It's like, mate, look, read the room, just glue yourself to something. That's what people do.
I think he's got 8 years. Now, a new report urges illegal channel crossing migrants to be sent to Ascension Island in the South Pacific, or failing that, Alderney. This is from The Times.
Yeah, I mean, it reads a little like trying to mirror Australia's system, which I think is what it is. It comes from Policy Exchange, this right-leaning think tank that's come up with some ideas on what should be done. But the theory is...
I'm sure the people of Alderney will be delighted to have...
Well, that's why Ascension Island is picked, because of its lack of indigenous population and also nice weather, apparently.
Yeah.
But it does seem strange. Firstly, I understand, again, our urge is to think, well, we should sort out our borders. Yes, but let's remember that refugees are legal. It's really important to fit that into it. Otherwise, there's a tendency to try and work out how you can maximise no one gets anywhere near us.
Is this... No, but you're confusing... Well, maybe you're not confusing refugees and illegal migrants.
Well, but they are both in... That's the problem with the situation, isn't it? You see some people coming out of the water. How do you know what's what? The problem, I would say, is that they're getting it the wrong way around. Instead of waiting until someone manages to make their way into the UK and then flying them out to Ascension Island to do the paperwork, surely to stop people, and this is what people say their main motivation to solve this issue is to stop people attempting a really dangerous crossing, would be to have some way of doing the paperwork before you arrive at the UK. Because at the moment, their system would be, get to the UK, get flown away. Well, why not just...
I don't think whether they've got the paperwork or not is going to encourage them, is going to deter anyone from coming who wants to come. Is it?
Well, the theory is, if you do make your way to the UK and then are caught / apply, you'll be flown out elsewhere and you're not in the UK anymore. But if anything, it disincentivises admitting that you've turned up.
Have you ever seen the film Papillon?
No.
It's a brilliant film with Stephen McQueen and Dustin Hoffman, but you imagine Ascension Island, if this were to go ahead, it's not, it's just some idea of a think tank, but you imagine the prisoners get put in this island in the middle of nowhere and then Steve McQueen jumps off the island at the end of the film. It's brilliant, but you imagine Ascension Island being something like that. Anyway, let's move on. 1,600 quid a month for 18 years in Wales, for 18-year-olds in Wales, I should say, as part of a new universal basic income trial. This is from the Mirror, Diane, and it sounds like rather a lot of money.
Yes, now, the Welsh Government are trialling this scheme where 18-year-olds who leave the care system will be given £1,600 a month as a basic income. Now, they will be taxed on this, and it may mean that they lose some benefits that they may be able to have. I'm not...
I think with universal basic income, the principle is you get that and then you lose all other benefits. Maybe not with this Welsh system, but I think that's the principle. There's just one... Or maybe you get extra benefits, I don't know.
Well, this is why I think they're careful to call this basic income, not universal basic income.
OK.
So I think that's one of the differences here. And they will also be given financial well-being training to build up their confidence. So you're taking a group of very vulnerable people, essentially who've just left the care system, who are adults, and you're giving them this cushion that they would never have had. I think it's actually quite a wonderful scheme because these people, they've come from a place that I can't recognise because I was very lucky. I had parents who, I was with my parents and they looked after me and they helped me out financially. But some people don't have that. And the government is stepping in and trialling this scheme to see if it can give people like that start, that really important start in life. And I'm not going to make any jokes about this because I think it's wondrous and I just wish everybody the best.
What do you make of it,
Yeah.
Steve?
Well, I've got some silly jokes, don't you worry about that. Well, I mean, actually, £1,600 a month. It's not a joke when I say it's more than I earn. And that's what bothers me about this. It
seems like a lot of money.
It does. I don't mind the idea of trialling a universal basic income, but make them poorer than me. because I'm working, and honestly, some months do not drag that in.
I did have one joke.
Yep.
It did say, according to this, that the radical idea gives people a set payment to replace the benefit system and prepare for an age of robots taking over jobs. So I assume that these teenagers will be buying guns and things to fight off the futuristic robots that will be taking us over.
This is an argument that I don't buy, this idea that robots are going to replace... I mean, everyone's preparing for it, but if you go back to Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer, written in whatever year it was...
16-something?
No.
Earlier?
I think it was 12th or 13th century. Ooh. 13th or 14th century. In any case, you look at all those jobs, there's all the different pilgrims, they all have different jobs as they walk to Canterbury. 80% of those jobs, I think there's like 3 of those, all the jobs in the Canterbury Tales no longer exist. Obviously, the duties of those jobs are completely different today, but the actual jobs still exist. And so, you know, the nature of being an accountant or whatever your job is will change. I mean, there's already bots in accountancy as it is with Excel and so on. But so the nature might change, but the job will still exist. So I don't think robot replacement is going to be that bad.
And if it does happen that there are overlords, don't go out and buy guns. Just buy sodium, potassium, and some 111 tribrominated.
And Facebook shares. Part 2 is coming to an end. We're going to take a break now for the weather and then ads. Join us for part 3. No, we're not taking a break for the weather, just the ads. Excuse me. Join us for part 3 when we'll find out about the stammerer who sued a call centre after they advertised for a clear-speaking candidate. See you in a minute.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate.
From all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel.
Right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
It's basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for...
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to part 3 of Headliners. I'm Dominic Frisby. With me looking through tomorrow's papers are Steve N. Allen and Diane Spencer. And the next story is from the Mirror. And when it comes to benefits cheats, this Irish gentleman, I think he's an Irish gentleman, must be considered one of the goats, Steve.
Yeah, great story. So this 58-year-old man had been claiming his dead parents' pension for 33 years and was rumbled because his dad would have turned 100. 33 years at Bernie's, I think, should be the main headline. But so what happened was he'd got, by this stage, over £440,000 worth, was caught when his father became eligible for a centenary bonus bounty cheque. The parents, Donald and Eileen, very much sounds like a pair of storms that are going to come and mess up your wheelie bins. Here's why I don't just blame the son for this, though. Because the dad, Donald, had claimed the pension for his dead wife from 1979 until 1987.
So it was taught, it was learned behaviour.
It's the family trade. You went into the business. So this is the problem with this con, though, is that eventually it's not going to work. Eventually, if you keep claiming your dead parents' pension, at some point, like the Guinness Book of Records are going to come around to try and work out why there's a 200-year-old in there. Which actually means you do need to have a plan. Here's the plan if you want to do this con. The investigator cracked the case when he went around searching for the cemeteries, the tombstones. So cremation would have helped. Don is the bloke
Natural burial.
Yeah, out at sea, no one knows. He got arrested, this bloke Don, after he just collected the fortnightly pension of £805, which means, moved to Wales, you would have been 10 quid down on the deal.
Yeah.
So it would have been easy.
I was going to say, all you need to do is move to Wales and get your UBI, and then you don't need to pull scams. This is one of the things they find with taxes. If you have lower rates of taxes, you get less tax evasion because people are happier to pay it. Diane, have you got any insights to add, or shall I crack on?
Oh, crack on.
I shall do just that. Right, US spy planes have been outed circling over the Ukraine, according to The Sun. Can't be a very good spy plane if some bloke can track it on Flight Tracker, can it, Diane?
Well, I love Flight Radar because, or Flight Tracker, or all of them, because they use different systems to pinpoint where planes are all over the sky. Unfortunately, I think a couple of people who were looking at the map were peering over Ukraine, and the internet sleuths, as they've been described, you click on it, and when you click on the little plane, a picture of the plane pops up, and it popped up this incredible...
Say spy plane on
Pretty much, yeah. This incredible picture of the spy plane. Everyone's going, right, yeah, OK, so it's going well. We've got eyes on the ground. Yeah, eyes on the ground. It kind of reminded me of that story. Do you remember ages ago when they discovered that all the soldiers in America in the secret army bases were wearing a running app, and somebody found out that you could literally sort of draw a map of where all the American army bases were, because all the soldiers were going, yeah, that's the personal best right there, and it was
Strava or something.
it was Strava. So it's quite interesting that they've managed to do this. I mean, but I think it's a bit sad that they've revealed this in a weird way to Twitter, because Putin already has a wee little history of proving that he can blow up a satellite. He has already blown up his own satellite, which caused a big, big problem, which is why they need new rules in space. But he is quite capable of blowing up satellites. So now that he knows that there are also some American spy planes 56,000 feet above him.
Yeah, and there was that plane flying over... Do you remember the Dutch plane flying over Ukraine? Was it blown up by Russian... It was a Dutch...
Yes.
About 3 or 4 years ago?
Yes.
Anyway, sorry. Show us your insights into this one, Steve.
Yeah, I totally agree. Stop helping Russia. People have read it. I know you're bored, but what are you doing?
But you want the attention on Reddit. You want the acclaim for having discovered an American spy plane, don't you?
Yeah, and then as we spoke of previously, I did a voiceover for Russian tanks. This is a terrible time for me, so actually I can't be pointing fingers about who's benefited from this whole thing. But the TS-90 is just as manoeuvrable. It just has the same firepower of the T-90 with greater manoeuvrability and a smaller footprint.
That's great to know.
Yeah, good to know. Yeah, it's a worrying situation. It's good that we've now got the spy ability, but you don't want people to actually know that it's a spy plane. I'm still not incredibly sure that anyone's moving anywhere, though, even if we can spy on them. It's Russia doing that thing where you pretend to walk away from a door. All right, I'm leaving.
The difference is, when you're in the West and you uncover a spy plane, everyone on the internet goes, oh, well done, you're really clever. When you're in Russia and you you point out where a Russian spy plane is...
You have to move. No, you just move. You move straight away.
Yeah, before they find you. Elon Musk is back on headliners for the second time in a week, and yet again, not for good reasons. Steve, this was in the Telegraph.
Yeah, brain chips. They talk about how his firm's been accused of torturing monkeys to try and put the brain chips in their brain. This Neuralink, which is a firm set up by Elon Musk. And there were claims on social media about some of the things that happened to some of these macaque monkeys, I believe they were. One died, one had a fever straight away. Some were injuring themselves, and some couldn't walk. They've denied this Neuralink firm. The aim is to try and use this in humans. But would you, if someone said to you, we could put a chip in your brain, oh yeah, who made that? Oh, you know the guy who didn't make any money off of electric cars and crashed many a space rocket? Him. I'm fine, thanks. I think I'll not have that thing in my brain. There's a non-profit organisation that looks at these uses of animals, and they've made the complaint against it. In a blog, Neuralink said it worked with animals in the most humane and ethical way possible. And whilst I'm not disagreeing with that for legal reasons, how do you humanely experiment on a brain with some chips?
I think Elon Musk might have his fingers in too many pies. What do you think?
Elon Musk has got a history of putting out his technology before it's ready. He also has a history of investing in what I consider to be dangerous technology. You look at something like the Hyperloop, which he is a big champion of, and that thing, it could actually make you have bariatric trauma and just pop in your eyeballs and everything if it goes wrong. So yeah, him doing this to monkeys, the difficulty is, number one, yes, we do need progress. You think about those films in the 80s, like RoboCop. This is definitely the R&D side of RoboCop that we never saw. But at the same time, experimenting on animals has happened previously. It's why we have things like insulin for diabetics. However, these people were saying that the way that the monkeys were treated was poor, that when they were being experimented on, it was badly done. And like Steve said, the guy shot a car into space for fun. You really want that guy to put a chip in your brain? Yeah.
Although I am slightly torn, because it apparently would let you connect to a computer, and part of me would love the idea of sitting there looking like I'm listening, just surfing the web right now. So
that's what I'm doing. Right, unequivocally offensive. That is not a description of my act, but of a mural at the Tate.
It's a description of my act. This is interesting. Right, so in the Tate, this story is from the Telegraph, there is a mural, and the mural depicts it depicts racism and racism imagery. It's called Rex Whistler's something about meat. Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry. I was supposed to highlight it, and I've highlighted all the wrong things.
The Expedition in Pursuit of Rare Meats.
Thank you. And that is the title, and it shows people being bound. It shows people with collars on. It's not nice. Now, personally, if I'm going to go to a restaurant, little bit of racism on the wall, it's gonna put me off my food. I'm not gonna want to go there. I'm not gonna want to order my seasoned butternut tart with all its posh things for 12 quid and sit there looking at a racist mural. And you know what? I could go with one of my mates.
They'd be racist for you? What?
Well, no. Well, what I'm saying is what if you wanted to take a date there? And what if you... It's just, weird. So what they're saying is the Tate is saying...
I take all my Tinder dates.
Yeah, let's go to this mildly racist restaurant. So what they're going to do is they're going to commission an artist to make, an answer piece to this statement. So the pieces are supposed to reflect each other. It's an interesting idea. I would say, for the sake of people eating, just definitely move the restaurant. Just put the tables in another bit.
Face all the tables that way.
Nobody look at the wall.
Your thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, it's all about the fact that it is a restaurant, isn't it? Because if it weren't, then art can be challenging. Art can raise questions, all of these things. So you wouldn't get rid of the work of art for those reasons. But then when you read the story and find out that, it's in the restaurant, that it seems dismissive, doesn't it, to just have it as on the wall while no one pays attention.
I think the bottom line is a lot of this is just a taste thing. What is good taste and what is poor taste. Do you know what I mean?
But it contains... No, I'm sorry. It contains images of black children on leads.
Oh, no.
I'm not going to... I'd be like, oh, no, we're not eating here. Let's go get some chips. Yeah.
Poor judgment. So to the Mail and the suing stammerer.
Yes, Lorenzo Garcia, a stammerer with a history of suing companies for compensation, has lost an appeal, and the decision was made to not take the discrimination case forward. So he saw a job advert for a call centre that required someone who could speak clearly, so takes it to a tribunal saying that he's not only... he wanted compensation for the hurt feelings and the lack of the opportunity of working there, even though this job was 200 miles away from where he lives and he had a better job. or certainly a job that paid more. And it's not the first time he's done it. The panel ruled that it was legitimate for a call centre to ask applicants to be able to speak clearly. This is the part where I'm kind of torn. My natural annoying lefty things that annoy you, my instincts are to obviously side with anyone who feels discriminated. But the logic, if you stretch further, would mean that, so call centres would have to employ people who are mute. Clearly, there is a spectrum of, sense stops happening pretty sharply.
And he's got previous, though, this guy.
Yeah,
Did he win his previous cases?
Actually, that's a good point.
Maybe he won them, and that's why he was doing this.
Yeah,
It's like they have those things, patent trolls in America. It's a bit like that, but
Yeah, so there was a gift shop was the one before where a job advert just asked for women, so he found that discriminatory. But the thing is, they made him pay a £500 deposit to continue with the case because they thought it was possibly chasing money. I think what they should do is still have the case, but if he wins, he should have to take the job. Raise the stakes, wouldn't it?
The Mail is... Did you have any thoughts on that one, Diana, or shall I crack on?
I think he's a con artist.
The Mail is next, and Diana, a whole new level of meaningless corporate slogans at Facebook.
Oh, my God. Like, Mark Zuckerberg, I don't know how he doesn't sometimes just dribble bile from his mouth. Just rubbish. He has... Right, so he's announced a number of new corporate values, OK, guys? And all of his corporate values clearly fit on many mugs and calendars with pictures of sunsets, OK? Namaste. So, guys, also, never put the company behind yourself, okay? So the company, the structure goes Meta mates. Those are the people who work for Facebook. Sorry, Meta. You have to call each other Meta mates. It should do a little signal like that, like a little M. And then you put yourself last, because that's the way things should be. So you put the company first, then your other employees and yourself last. So if the building catches on fire, rescue all the servers, then your colleagues, then yourself.
And they've changed, was it move fast and break things? They've changed that to...
Just move faster.
Oh, is it?
Move fast altogether.
Oh.
Yeah, so basically I don't know what he's doing. They made a change where they changed the scrolling feed.
Does this come from Clegg?
Probably. I bet Clegg has something to do with it. They changed the...
Classic third way logic, isn't it?
It's blue sky thinking, yeah? We need to draw some diagrams. They changed it from news feed to just feed. OK, guys? Easier to read, less words on the eyes. And everybody rightly just went, what on earth is this? How many meetings did it take to come up with that, just to cross the word news off? So it's just absolutely ridiculous, because what he's trying to do is he's trying to hide the fact that he's still collecting your data, he's still selling your data. He's trying to hide the fact that there's so many algorithms.
Disguising the fact that he's conquering the world and everything in it.
Yeah.
Steve, a Tory MP, has driven into a lamppost.
You've got
This
the
is
story
from the
right
Mail.
there. That's it. Jamie Wallace, Tory MP, fined £270, given 3 points on his licence for hitting a lamppost, cutting off a village from the internet for several days. How do you get your internet from the lamppost? I mean, in my mind, I'm now imagining one person's got a router and they've done that thing where you nick the power from the bottom of the lamppost. That's the only way they can make it run. He admitted, and this is my favourite thing, to failing to comply with the solid white line road markings. It's a really interesting way of saying hit a lamppost. Yeah, I think the big problem here is that I went over that line. The lamppost was beyond the line, so all I've really done is
and was he
follow the
sorted?
highway code. No, they thought they'd checked, first of all, because he hit a lamppost. But no, and he's admitted doing that. He was questioned after his Mercedes ended up with strange overhead lighting attached to it, I guess. No other vehicles were involved. No one was injured. The collision was less than 2 miles from the MP's home. In his defence, it was dark, or at least it was after he hit that lamppost.
Have you ever driven into a lamppost, Diane?
No, but I did accidentally park on a bollard once. And
on a bollard?
Yeah, well, it was the half moon in Sherborne, and they've got these little bollards outside, and I just drove over one by accident because it's so small, and my little Citroen Saxo got stuck, and I had to go into the pub, and bless, everybody in the pub came out and lifted the car off the bollard.
Oh, that's sweet. And what happened with 30 seconds? Well, that's all we have time for. Stephen? I keep calling you Stephen. Steve N. I must have known you 15 years and I still can't get it right. Steve, thank you very much. Diane, thank you very much. That's all we have time for. Thank you very much for watching. Headliners will be back at the same time tomorrow with Simon Evans in the chair. Until then, from all of us here, cheerio.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate
from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across